Welcome back to the Gridiron Report with David Wright. So I was out earlier taking the dogs out and watering the tomato plants and some other stuff. I noticed it was a beautiful weekend and I'm hoping that y'all will get time to enjoy it. So welcome to the first episode of the Random Report with David Wright. And we cover the NFC East teams and whichever Super Bowl champion there is that year. This year will be a Seattle Seahawks. So let's start with Seattle. So we know they had the departure of Walker, MVP. So that's a gigantic hole in their running back room. So what did they go out and do in this year's draft? At 5'11", 209 pounds, running a 4.49, they went got Jadarian Price. Now, he played at Notre Dame, but the problem is he was behind Jordan Love. So you don't know exactly what you have in there. You hope that you have a solid number one that can produce to go with what you've done in the room. Um, so you have Zach Charbonnet that is injured. So they went out and got Emmanuel Wilson to put with Jadarian Price and the rest of their room. Now, it's a lot like Washington's running back room. It'll be more of a committee. But I do like the way they addressed the issue because losing Walker is a big hit. But they did well, along with some things they did last year, like, I don't know, they brought in the left guard, uh, Gray Zabel, which should start to see more of a return. So they did really well, and I think they will be just fine. However, they are going in a division with the Rams, with the 49ers. And we're not going to act like they have to worry about the Cardinals. No one has to worry about the Cardinals. Um, and the Rams, they look like they're going to be a juggernaut. Now, we do know that Puka Nakua has had some injuries in the past. He's a little injury prone. Now, he's only missed 7 total games because of them injuries. But bar, something happening because he does get injuries a decent amount. Something removing him from the season for an extended period of time. It looks like they're going to need every weapon they could get to deal with the Rams. And when you look over at the 49ers, they've made some moves. They brought back a lot of people. They're getting ready for war too. So they needed this really bad. So I think it was well addressed to go with their new, extremely young head coach. I think their future is very bright. We are going to move on to the Giants and their 5th overall pick, standing at 6'4", 243 pounds, running a 4.46. What a just absolute freak. Arvell Reese. He has flashed a ton in their OTAs and their practices. His speed, it stands out. Like the burst that he gets that we haven't been able to see truly yet because pads will go on and contact will start and then we'll really be able to see what he is. But with that speed, the explosion and the additions that they made the last few years, I can't wait to see what he can do inserted into this defense, it's gonna be special, very special. So I don't believe there'll be any problem this year for anybody much. Put up some really good games, be in some stuff, but I do believe they're going on a straight trajectory up. I do believe by next year you'll start to see them create some major havoc. I think that was a really great addition. So I wanted to talk about Caleb Downs next. Now he looks to be everything that was advertised in the draft and before. His speed, he's 6 foot tall, 206. He's running a 4.45. He looks elite fast, extremely high IQ. Um, his football knowledge is off the charts. So his situational with his speed and his knowledge, he seems to always be in the right place at the right time. Now, will that be immediately into the NFL? There's no way to know until we see it on the field. I would expect it's going to be really good. Could take him a year. We'll see. I doubt it. He's extremely smart. Um, so Dallas did really good bringing in Caleb Downs. Now, remember, they brought in like 8 starters on defense, and they turned over their defensive coordinator, which is a really young, unproven coordinator so far, but considered to be a guru, a lot like the Commanders' David Blau. Now, what that will look like, because there was a lot of confusion to start this year. They brought in Caleb and all these players, and then a week later or so, they realized they didn't have a green dot guy. Now, in my opinion, that's a massive boo boo. Now, did the cohesion come in that coaching room to where they're not making the mistakes? That's a pretty huge mistake when you put together a defense. You bring in 8 new starters, including Caleb Downs in the draft, and you haven't addressed at all that you didn't have a green dot. That's a pretty big lapse in the coaching room. Now, did they repair that? We will see as the year goes. I'm not as high on Dallas being this year's stunner. I do believe they, just like the Giants, are on an upward trajectory now. They've got some really solid defensive players. I think this defensive coach could end up being something. Not sure if he'll take a year or so. We'll see. Um, but excellent ad. Really good pick. They had a really good offseason. So did the Giants. So the next on our list is the Eagles. Mekhi Lemon. Now here's where the story gets a little different. Because with Mekhi Lemon, he has had the typical rookie downs with drops and running the wrong routes, the simple stuff. Enough that we've seen Dallas put out tapes. I mean, we've seen the Eagles put out tapes that, like on a 2 yard out, where the ball was actually a bad throw. Mekhi Lemon had to come around and almost broke his back to get it, but they're having to celebrate a 2 yard out on the line, which, if you go back and look, he might have been on the line. It had been out anyway, but that is going to be a development as we go. Whether he is a real contributor this year or next year, not sure. Um, Sometimes it takes a year. I do believe this player will be a really good addition. He's a really good separator. He's got good speed, really strong hands. So I do believe long term, whether he hits this year or it takes him a year to get the NFL speed, I do believe he will be a good addition. But is it a good enough addition this year to make them a real viable team when you lost Brown? And they do have a lot of depth, but there's no spectacular depth at all. So now you're kind of Smitty and the guys, unless Makai Lemon pops. So we'll see how that works out. On the flip side of that, let's go with the Commanders. Now, the Commanders have Antonio Williams. Now, where Makai Lemon has had his ups and downs from the rookie woes, we've seen way, 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 way less of them from Antonio Williams. He looks like he could be everything that the Eagles wanted Makai Lemon to be from day one. Now, could this totally reverse when we hit training camp and pads are on and the bumping and grinding starts and you got guys throwing shoulders and it's throwing you off your route? It definitely could. I'm not saying it won't. I don't think it will. I think Antonio Williams is going to be the offensive rookie of the year. I think he has an upside that's extremely high. You could end up with a number two receiver, but I do believe inside this guy is a higher level number one receiver. Now, can you get that out of him this year? I mean, we know that's not necessarily likely, but is it possible? Absolutely. We've seen it happen many a times, especially in the slot area um, with twitchy, fast separators. Um, so I do believe we have our number two receiver. I do not know if we have our number two receiver this year. That's the real question. Will it take him a year to get to be that real number two? And can he elevate his game to be Terry's replacement or equal in the next year or two? That will be an interesting thing to follow in the long haul. So there's one more guy I would like to go over. Sonny Styles. 6'4", 240 pounds, runs like the wind, instincts. Well, Orville Reese and him are a lot alike, except for Sonny Styles played Green Dot in college. So he has experience. He also was a safety. So his speed and his athletic prowess is a higher level than most linebackers. We're talking a linebacker with the skills of a safety. So you can drop this guy into coverage and feel completely safe. Or what I'm hoping will happen is you pick up Leo Chenal or Frankie Luvu, and one of them becomes the green dot for this year, allowing Sonny Styles to play loose and free. And I would like to see a year where we see him go get the quarterback. This isn't how he was used in college, so I would really like to see, with his speed, his size, his bend, and his will alone, and his NFL IQ, what he can do to quarterbacks and what kind of hell he can raise. Because as much as I said Arbel Reese is going to be a nightmare for so many quarterbacks, and I do believe that, I believe Sonny Styles is on the exact same level, and they're basically built the same. The difference being is Sonny wasn't used that way and Arbel was. So now I would like to see a year of let Sonny sit back, let him play free, let him get after the quarterback, let him do his thing. We have Josephs. He can help when Sonny's going out. He's really good at dropping into coverage. So is Caleb on Chason. So let's see what we can do when he's a pass rusher, how many sacks he could bring in and start to develop that extra weapon. Um, it's going to be a really good year in the NFC East. And as you can see with our Super Bowl champions, it's going to be a good year in the NFC. You have some of the best teams in the whole league by far right here in the NFC, which would be the Rams, the 49ers, and then you got the whole NFC East, the Super Bowl champions. So this is going to be an outstanding year where we get to see the elevation of these teams. Now, I'm not saying Dak Prescott is a bum at all, but Dak Prescott's numbers tend to raise a tremendous amount when he's playing bad defenses. For instance, last year he played quite a few bad defenses. Us, the Giants, we were like 31st. I think Dallas was 32nd. The Giants were 28th. They played a lot of bad defenses. This year, that's not here. We're not going to be a bad defense. The Giants are not going to be a bad defense. With the new addition of their head coach, he's not going to allow them to have a bad defense. Even if they have a bad year, it'll be on their offense, not their defense, I would imagine. So, what do y'all think about all these additions of all these players and these teams? We've talked about the Seattle Seahawks, the New York Football Giants, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Commanders. Which of these teams are your favorite? Who do you think will do the best off the additions they made this year? Please comment down below, like, share, subscribe. Come back and see us again, and we hope you have a gorgeous and fun-filled weekend. Thank you for joining us.